So today we are going to start the new topic, that is the respiration in organisms. So first, I think yesterday we discussed about the photosynthesis, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Photosynthesis means what? What is the meaning of photosynthesis?
Green plant. Sir, the process by which food is synthesized by plants with the help of simple inorganic substances like water, carbon dioxide, sunlight, and chlorophyll to prepare food. Green plants prepare their own food in the presence of photosynthesis, sunlight, carbon dioxide, water.
Okay. First, before these things, I'll ask you two times. Do you know what is the meaning of endothermic process and the exothermic process? Anybody? The meaning
Endothermic means coming inside. Sir, can I say?
endothermic and the exothermic.
Sir, can I say?
Yeah.
The endogenic means will absorb the air, and exogenic means releasing the air.
Okay. No, it's not at all related to the air and all. Thermic means it is a heat, energy. Whenever there is a word thermic, that is related to the energy only. Okay. So endothermic means the process which absorbs the heat energy is called as an endothermic process. Whichever the process will absorb the heat energy is called as an endothermic process. Suppose if you want to convert from liquid to gaseous state, what you have to do? What you have to do? If you want to convert from liquid to gaseous state,
You have to heat it.
you have to heat it. You have to give the energy. You have to give the energy to the conversion process, right? That means the process will absorb the energy in the form of heat. So only it will convert from liquid to the gaseous state. It is an endothermic process. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Clear or not?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay, if you want to convert from liquid to solid,
To solid. So I should keep in the refrigerator. You have to cool it down.
you have to cool it down. You have to cool it down means you have to decrease the temperature, right?
Yes, sir. Exothermic. Yes, sir.
Decreasing the temperature means energy is releasing, right? In the form of heat.
Exothermic.
Exothermic means which will release the heat energy. Now clear with the two terms. What is the endothermic and what is the exothermic?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear or can I
Can I read
Boys, I said you already so many times in the class. If two
Your voice is breaking.
voice is breaking,
Sir, your voice is breaking a lot. Yes, sir.
what about now?
Yes, sir. No.
Wait a minute.
Double stick tape is that? Double.
Okay,
Please mute. Also, your voice is still breaking. Please mute.
Hello. Now is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now is this clear or not?
Yes, sir. It's clear. Clear. And from my side,
Remaining persons, please mute yourself.
it's breaking. Sir.
I hope now it is clear for you.
Sir, it's clear. Sir. Yes, sir. It's clear.
That's what. If the remaining persons is keep your mic mute, now it will be clear only. Okay, when you want to speak, you can just unmute yourself. You can speak. Afterwards, you can immediately mute your mic. I hope now my words are clear for you. Raghav?
Yes, sir. Your voice is clear.
Yeah. So we have discussed it two times. One is the endothermic process. The next one is the exothermic process. Endothermic means the process will absorb the heat energy from the surroundings. Exothermic means the process will release the heat energy to the surroundings. There is a exothermic. So yesterday we discussed about the photosynthesis process. Now tell me whether the photosynthesis is an exothermic or endothermic process.
Endothermic, sir, endothermic.
Endothermic, good, because the carbon dioxide and
It will
water
absorb
will
sunlight.
absorb the heat energy from the sun and the reaction will take place. So it is an endothermic process. So during the endothermic process, heat energy will be absorbed and will form the glucose and the oxygen atom, oxygen gas. Remember the equation part, right? So exactly opposite of photosynthesis only, it is called as in respiration. Exactly opposite to photosynthesis. So in the case of respiration, what will happen? Boys remaining, please mute yourself. So in the case of respiration, what will happen now? The glucose that is present in our body react with the oxygen which is coming due to the inhalation.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
What?
Breaks only sometimes.
But I have took the
Sir,
previous
we
class.
could,
There is no issue from other class.
sir, we can hear you clearly only, sir. You
Sir, it's breaking like very little stuff that they are saying.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Guys, if it's a little enough, please just listen, okay? If it's breaking too
And
much
now
now,
it
if
is
it's
also
lag,
breaking, sir.
if it's having too much of
Sir,
lag.
it's not.
The thing is, before I took one class for other standard, but there didn't say any complaint. I don't know. Now only you're telling the voice is breaking. First, tell me for how many of you is it clear? Just raise your hands. My voice is clear for you. Just raise your hands. Okay. For how many of you didn't? My voice is not clear for you. For how
Sir,
many of
for
you?
me it is not.
Yeah. Just raise your hands for how many of you voice is not clear. Three, four. Oh, God.
Sir, only for two one it's clear, sir. For many members it's not.
Okay.
Sir,
Just
even for me it's clear, sir. Sir, even for me it's clear.
okay. Okay. Just wait a minute.
Mahavir, don't raise your hand if it's clear.
Just wait. Wait a minute. Wait a
Breaking.
minute. Okay. Just wait a minute. I will connect with other hotspot. So we are discussing about the respiration, right? In the case of respiration, which is exactly opposite of photosynthesis. Is it clear now? The voice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So in the case of respiration, what will happen? Whatever the glucose present in our body will react with the oxygen. How we are getting the oxygen inside the body? During the inhalation of, right? During the inhalation process, the oxygen will get, it will react with the glucose present in the cell. So that what will happen? In the photosynthesis process, it will
The
absorb the
glue.
energy. It will absorb the energy. But in the case of respiration, it will release the energy. Along with the energy, it will release the carbon dioxide in the water. Yes or no? So
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In the case of respiration, glucose react with the oxygen, which will give us carbon dioxide, water, and the energy. So again, the carbon dioxide will exhale out with the help of the lungs, and the energy will be utilized by the body for the functioning of the body, right? Do you understand what is the respiration now?
Sir. Yes.
Yes,
Sir.
yes, sir.
Just respiration means exactly opposite of photosynthesis. So whatever the products are there, do you know first what is the reactant and what is the product in the equation part? What is the reactant part and what is the products part? If I give one chemical equation like yesterday, this equation part is there, right? 6CO2 plus 6H2O. One arrow is there, and
Yeah,
C6H12O6 plus 6O2 is there. So what is the reactants and what are the products in this?
sir, the reactants are 6CO2 plus 6H2O, and the products are C6H12O6, which is glucose, and 6 oxygen molecules.
Good. See, listen. Reactants means what? Whichever is undergoing reaction. Product means what? After the chemical reaction, what are the different substances we are getting? Those are the products. Clear? So if you see this arrow, it is indicating right side, right? So left side of this arrow called as in reactants. The right side of the arrow is called as in products. Clear now? If you take any chemical reaction, the left side of the arrow is the reactants, the right side of the arrow is the products in the direction of arrow. Clear?
Okay, sir.
So exactly if you reverse this equation in the flip, like C6H12O6 plus 6O2 will give us 6CO2 plus 6H2O. That is only equation for respiration process. So exactly opposite of photosynthesis is the respiration. That's all. Simple. So we'll read this paragraph line to line. Each cell of an organism perform functions like nutrition, transportation, excretion, and the reproduction for the purpose. For this purpose, it requires energy. Yes or no? Cell is the basic thing in the body. Every organisms. Like if we take chemistry now, atom is the building block of the matter, right? For any matter, atoms are the building blocks or the starting one. Like that, for any organism, the cell is the primary one or the starting one. So group of cells only we will call is a, what is the name? Group of cells.
Tissue and group of
Tissue.
tissues will form an organ, and group
Group
of
of organs will form the
system, and group
system.
of organ system will form an organism.
So it completely forms an organisms. So cell will be the most fundamental part in the organisms. So whatever this process, nutrition, transportation, excretion, reproduction, all these process will happen in the cells. For this process to happen, it requires the energy. So this energy is obtaining from the respiration process. Okay, our food is stored which is releasing energy during the respiration. Breathing is the process during which we breathe in air having oxygen and we breathe out air rich in carbon dioxide. Clear up to this point? Any doubts?
Sir, clear.
The air rich in oxygen is transferred to all the parts of the body and ultimately to the cell. The oxygen is utilized by the cell for respiration. Good. Now we got the definition for the respiration. The process of breakdown of food in the cells of an organism which will release the energy is called as cellular respiration. Just know what I have explained to you in the equation part is only this definition part. The process of breaking down of the food in the cells of an organism with the release of energy is called as cellular respiration. Clear now?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has any doubts? No, tomorrow notes what I will do now, I'll just keep one placard. Everyone please turn on your cam in each and every class. I have to mention that one as a heading, as a disclaimer. Before starting up the movie, they'll keep one headings, right? Like that before starting up the class also I have to start something, right? Like that.
Sir, if I turn on my video, it's showing something like this, sir. It's not coming.
Sir, I think
Raghav, you disabled the camera in your laptop.
No, actually, it's enabled. If I go to this WhatsApp website, the camera is over there. It is enabled connection secure.
go to the laptop.
Okay, Raghav.
Go to the laptop.
Today, okay, boys, please be calm. Raghav, today you just go through the setting. Boys, please wait. Raghav,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Today you just go through the settings in the Google Chrome as well as in the Files app, and you can do that one. I will give you the time, but remaining people you have to compulsory turn on your cams.
Sir, on the camera, your voice is break.
Sir, he can actually just like go to the laptop settings and see.
Yeah. Okay. What are the remaining?
Before I was also not able to on my video because of the same problem.
I want to see your faces, not the ceilings or not your house. Everyone turn on your cam. Sorry. Okay. So again, the respiration are two types. Mute yourself. Okay. So again, the respiration are two types, depending upon the availability of oxygen. If there is more oxygen availability is there, it will come under the aerobic respiration. If the absence of oxygen is there, this comes under the anaerobic respiration. Okay, respirations are two types in the cells. One is the aerobic respiration, the other one is the anaerobic respiration based upon the oxygen. Okay, so aerobic respiration means what?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Raghav.
Sir, can I tell what is aerobic and anaerobic respiration?
Yeah.
Sir, in aerobic respiration, we will utilize oxygen, sir, which means we'll take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. But in anaerobic respiration, that's not the case, sir. It will mostly, when we are running really fast, sir, we cannot, our lungs and we cannot cope up with that pace. So while we are performing the aerobic respiration, our cells, they store some energy within them, and when we are really running really fast or doing some activity like that, what will happen is that we will not take in oxygen, but we will utilize the energy which is stored inside our cells, and slowly this anaerobic respiration will not happen for a long time. It will happen for a short time only, because the energy stored in the cells also is very little. And so when this starts to run out, what our legs, they will not we'll get cramps we'll get cramps, and those cramps are caused by lactic acid, because while we are doing the anaerobic respiration, our body produces lactic acid in animals, and in plants it produces ethanol. So that is called anaerobic respiration. While aerobic respiration, which is the normal respiration which we are doing currently right now, we are taking in oxygen and our cells are absorbing that oxygen, and they are storing some of the energy, and in exchange we are releasing carbon dioxide and water, which we are releasing into the atmosphere. We are exhaling that out. So this is what happens while we are doing the aerobic respiration. And after we respire, after we perform the respiration, an energy is released, because in photosynthesis, energy is like absorbed, whereas in respiration, energy is released. Now, here in aerobic respiration, 36 molecules of ATP. Now, what is this ATP? ATP is the energy released after respiration. The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So, in aerobic respiration, more energy will be released. Means 38 molecules of ATP is released, whereas in anaerobic respiration, only 2 molecules of ATP, which means we get really less energy while we perform the anaerobic respiration. This is the main difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration.
Very good.
Thank you.
So how many of you understand that?
Sir, and when we run without breathing, sir, then it's called sprinting.
Sprinting.
Commonly the cells in
Oh,
the
sir,
oxygen, the
actually.
process of respiration is called aerobic, and the process of respiration take place in the cells even in the absence of the oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. And here the glucose is in aerobic respiration, the glucose is completely oxidized, whereas in anaerobic respiration the glucose is not
Not
oxidized.
completely oxidized. It's not completely broken down.
Yeah, and in aerobic respiration, it releases the carbon dioxide, whereas in the anaerobic respiration, it releases the ethyl alcohol, which contains more of lactic acid. And also, aerobic respiration also release the water and energy. But whereas anaerobic respiration does not release the water because it does not require the water for the respiration. And it occurs both in cytoplasm and even in a living cell of like a hydra and amoeba, and it occurs in the cytoplasm of the living cell. Means it can occur anyway, but aerobic respiration only few cases. And in aerobic respiration water is formed, whereas in anaerobic respiration water is not formed due to the molecules will be less, and the breathing respiration will be also less. The oxygen will not use, and will use the energy which is in our body.
Good. So remaining, you can mute yourself, everyone. Good. Raghav and the repeat. So don't worry, remaining people, I'll explain it from the basics. So aerobic respiration means what? Conversion of the glucose into the carbon dioxide and water in the presence of oxygen. So in this aerobic means it will happen in the presence of air. Air means what? Oxygen only, right? So breakdown of the glucose or the food present in the body in the presence of oxygen is called as an aerobic respiration. So during this process, whatever the glucose is present, it will completely break down into the carbon dioxide and water. Complete breakdown will happen in the case of aerobic respiration. And whenever there is a complete breakdown of the glucose, it will release lot of energy. If undergoes partial breakdown, it will release a small amount of energy only. But whenever it undergoes complete breaking down of the glucose, it will release a lot of amount of energy. Okay, so that is almost 36 ATPs it will release. Okay, I will tell you what is the ATP and all, adenosine triphosphate. This is generally a small energy packets. Like you know about the water packets or milk packets, right? Like that also in our body, we have the energy packets are there like that. That is the ATP. So whenever the body requires the energy, this ATP will give the energy for the body. So energy is stored in the form of ATPs. Okay. So whenever the complete breakdown of the glucose is happening, it will release the carbon dioxide, water, and a lot of amount of energy in the form of ATPs. That's almost 36 approximately ATPs will be there. When it will happen in the presence of fully oxygen. Okay. So all this respiration will take, aerobic respiration will take place in the mitochondria. You know about the mitochondria, right? It is one of the cell organelles.
Yes, sir. Because of the respiration is taking place in the mitochondria, energy will be stored in that mitochondria. That's why it is known as the powerhouse of the cell.
Powerhouse of the cell. Good. So this will take place in the mitochondria. Just remember these points. So aerobic respiration is most commonly in the human beings, dogs, lions, elephants, cows, buffaloes, goats, snakes, earthworm, frogs, and the fishes. So these are the common organisms in which aerobic respiration will take place. Is it clear for remaining people except Raghav and Ritvik?
Yes, sir.
Are any doubts in this?
No doubt.
Yeah, any doubts you can ask me. I'll explain you 1 second. Don't worry about that. Or don't feel shy in asking the doubts. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Aerobic means what? The breaking down of the glucose in the presence of oxygen. Okay, and the breakdown will happen completely. It will release a lot of energy. That is aerobic. So next one will come back to the anaerobic respiration. Here also glucose will break down, but it will not break down completely, it will break down partially only, because of there is no oxygen at all. In the absence of oxygen or in the limited quantity of oxygen, the glucose will break down partially, which will form what are the products? Alcohol, carbon dioxide, and the energy. In the case of anaerobic respiration, what are the products are there?
Sir, actually, oxygen is not required for this. We don't take in any, but there's a disadvantage for this respiration, sir. First of all, less energy is released because we are not taking in any oxygen, so that's to be understood. But see, we are not taking in air, we are not breathing anything, but still we will release carbon dioxide. That is the only disadvantage for this anaerobic respiration.
Sir, this respiration is moved in the cells, sir.
Mold in this, it will happen on
Cells.
its self. Okay, good. Without the oxygen, it will happen on the self. Okay. Next. So glucose breakdown in the absence of oxygen. Okay, glucose will break down in the absence of oxygen, will form the products like alcohol, carbon dioxide gas, as well as the energy. So anybody knows the fermentation process? Fermentation.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So
Sure.
fermentation is a process in which we'll use the anaerobic respiration process only, where the yeast
The
will
anaerobic respiration is also called as fermentation, right?
yeah. So yeast will produce the ethanol or the alcohol as a product, which is used in the making of the wine or the beer. So whenever we allow the yeast onto the grapes in the absence of air, it will form the alcohol. Okay, that is only the wine or the beers. Okay, there is a fermentation process. So the carbon dioxide produced by the yeast is used in the bread making industry. Why the bread is very fluffy?
Sir, it is like yeast is a unicellular organism, sir. It is used in it. First of all, it produces vitamin B, sir, which is very useful to us humans. So it is also an important source which is used in bakeries mostly, and it is used in making of alcohol, which you also told. And the bread is so fluffy because of the yeast present in it. It actually yeast it produces. I mean, it usually performs anaerobic respiration only. So what it does is it can live on sugar, basically sugar, and that's why a bit of sugar is used to make a bread also, because the yeast which is living in it, it will absorb that sugar and it will stay in that bread, which causes the bread to become fluffy.
Generally,
So for animal, it will become in the cells, but it will become in lactic acid.
okay.
Yeah.
Main thing is whenever during the making of the bread, we'll use the yeast. This yeast will release the CO2 gas. So this CO2 gas will make the some pores or the some holes in the cake or the bread, which will make the bread as a fluffy. The same with the cake also. In the cake, we'll use the baking powder, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So baking powder formula is NaHCO3. NaHCO3. So when you are heating the baking powder in the presence of cake, the NaHCO3 will break down and will release the CO2 gas. So gas means what? It has to escape into the atmosphere, right? From the solid substance. So to escape into the atmosphere, it will create small holes in the cake. That small holes will make the cake as a fluffy and the smooth. Understanding now? Why the bread and cakes are fluffy? Because of production of the CO2 gas during the preparation process. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is anaerobic respiration? Breakdown of the glucose in the absence of oxygen is called as an aerobic respiration. It will form the products like alcohol, carbon dioxide, and the energy. Alcohol.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, an aerobic respiration is carbon dioxide and water released, sir.
In the aerobic, carbon dioxide and the water. But in the case of anaerobic, we'll release the alcohol extra. Okay, alcohol, carbon dioxide, and the energy. Okay. So one more is the muscle cramps. Good. Raghu has also. Sorry.
So in the
anaerobic respiration, energy is very low, sir.
Yeah, energy is very low only 2 ADPs will release. Okay, so anaerobic respiration also happen in the case of human beings. In some cases, in most of the cases, we'll have the normally aerobic respiration only. But in few cases, anaerobic respiration also will take place in the human beings in the muscles. That is only the muscle cramps. So when you are performing some heavy exercises like running, cycling, walking, weightlifting, and all, or doing gym for the longer time, the body requires a lot of oxygen. If there is a deficiency of oxygen inside the body, so whatever the reactions happening in the cell will happen under the presence of under the condition of anaerobic respiration only. So during this time, what will happen? It will release the lactic acid. Understanding? So when you're doing the exercises like a running, cycling, or the walking, the body requires a lot of oxygen. If you don't get the lot of oxygen inside the body, it will undergo the anaerobic respiration and will release the lactic acid in the body. So which will cause the muscle cramps. Then how we can remove these muscle cramps?
Sir, that's why after a running race, those few people they can finish. They'll be able to finish the line, but few people sometimes they fall in between the race only because their muscles the energy has run out in the cells, sir. So that's why after the race is finished, they will give the one who finished the race is completely fine, so they'll give him a chocolate, just a chocolate to refill his energy, because sweet items they immediately get absorbed in the blood and give us energy. Whereas the one who fell down between the race, they will give him all energy drinks and all to refill his energy, because he did anaerobic respiration and to remove the lactic acid which has formed in his legs and the cramps also.
Good. So to remove this lactic acid, we have to increase the blood circulation in the body, right? So if you improve the blood circulation more after the formation of lactic acid in the body, what will happen? If you improve the blood circulation means what? You are giving more oxygen inside the blood, right? If you improve the blood circulation in the body, automatically we can increase the oxygen percentage inside the body. So whenever there is more oxygen inside the body, now the lactic acid will again converting into the carbon dioxide, and it will release the energy. Okay, so but how we can increase the blood circulation? Either you are going for the warm bath, okay, hot water bathing, or next one by bringing the other source of food materials and giving them some rest and all, okay, or doing some massage. If you do the massage also, the blood circulation will increase in the body, in the legs, okay, or in the hands, which will helps in the releasing of the lactic acid and formation of the CO2 gas. Okay, that is all about the anaerobic respiration in the muscles. So Srusti,
Yes, sir. Can I read, sir?
wait, Srusti, read the paragraph.
Yes, sir. Usually, aerobic respiration takes place in humans, but under certain conditions, anaerobic respiration may also occur in our muscles for a short time. Due to temporary deficiencies of oxygen, when we perform a heavy exercise like running, cycling, weightlifting, etc., we require large amount of energy. So glucose or food in muscle cells impartially broken down in absence of oxygen to form lactic acid, and some energy is released. The following equation shows the product of lactic acid, glucose, food plus limited oxygen is equal lactic acid plus energy. This is because during vigorous physical activity, the distillation of oxygen are at a fast rate in the muscles that can be supplied by a blood. When the lactic acid produced during the anaerobic respiration gets accumulated in the muscles, it causes muscle cramps. The muscle cramps can be received by taking a hot water bath or massage. This improves the circulation of blood and oxygen supply to muscle cells increase. The increased supply of oxygen results in complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water, thereby giving relief from cramp.
Good. So any doubts in this? Aerobic respiration in the muscles? Aerobic and anaerobic?
No, sir.
Okay, tomorrow your homework is find out the uses of aerobic respiration and the anaerobic respiration.
Sir, can you repeat?
Find out the uses of
Aerobic and anaerobic.
aerobic and anaerobic respirations. Or you can say advantages. Okay. So next one, these are the differences. Just go to the table, everyone. Just read each and every point. Whatever the paragraph you have studied before is given in the point to point in this tabular column. Just go through it.
Or can I read aerobic respiration?
No need, just go through it.
Okay, sir.
Just read in yourself. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the tabular column. Nikhil? Nikhil, any doubts?
No doubts.
Finished?
Yes, sir.
Shall we move to next topic, or can we want to discuss again this topic? So next one, you know about the breathing, right? The process in which air rich in oxygen will inhale, and the process in which air rich in carbon dioxide will exhale from the body. So combination of these two will call as in breathing, inhalation as well as the exhalation. Any doubts in this? Inhalation and exhalation.
No, sir.
I think we already discussed it in the transpiration in the animals in the last class.
Yeah, yes, sir.
About the breathing rate also, or the pulse rate.
Yeah, yes, sir. We also did an activity on this.
Yeah. So during the normal or the resting period, the breathing rate will be less. If you do any heavy exercises and all, the breathing rate will be higher.
Are we done?
Yeah, you have done this topic already. Just go through that paragraph.
Okay, so.
Once again, go through that paragraph.
So.
Yeah. Just read that paragraph completely. Ahana Singh. Ahana.
Can I get a chance?
Ahana. Wait, Ritvik. Ahana, are you there?
Sir, I think she has an audio problem.
Okay. I think I have given some homework for you.
Yes,
Last
sir.
class.
No, sir, last class you didn't have any homework.
Didn't give any homework.
No, sir.
Also, you didn't give.
Yes, sir, you didn't.
Okay. I thought I have given some homework only, but not for your class. I think so then.
Governed by the principles of gas laws. Space outside of the body is cavity, has the same pressure as the out. This as it warms up inside the body.
Okay. Finished reading part?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Pulmonary ventilation.
Sir, anything sound is coming, sir? From
Sorry?
Raghav. From Raghav, any
Here
sound?
Hannah is saying that she has some mic problems, so she can't talk.
Okay.
Right.
So next one is the mechanism of breathing. Okay, just we'll see watch one video on this, then we'll go for the remaining things. Okay.
Commonly referred to as breathing. Pulmonary ventilation, commonly referred to as breathing, is the process of air flowing in and out of the lungs during inspiration.
Can you hear the sound first?
Sir, it's very low.
Oh, sir.
And expiration.
Now?
The air movement.
Now is it clear?
Are
Yes.
governed by the principles
Sir,
of
we
gas.
know this, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, no need of video.
Gas laws. Basically, air flows from higher to lower pressure. Pressure within a cavity increases when its volume decreases and vice versa. Volume of a given amount of gas increases with increased temperature.
What do you understand from this? Gas loss? Air flows from the higher to the lower pressure.
Yes, sir.
That's the
And
first point.
and
Pressure
the
increase
when volume decreases.
when volume decrease. Good.
Volume of a given amount of gas increases with
Volume increase with increased temperature. Do you know these three are the different laws? One is the Boyle's law, Charles' law, and the last one is the Gay-Lussac law. Anybody remember? Listen these terms.
No, sir. I didn't hear the terms, but I know how volume increases and when does that happen.
Okay, these are the three laws. Just remember the terms. Boyle's law. This pressure and volume is there, right? If pressure increases, volume will
increased
decrease.
temperature.
That is the Boyle's law. Volume directly proportional to temperature. That is the Charles' law. Okay, if you want the extra information, just check it in the Google, or else you study in the higher classes. Boyle's law, Charles' law, and the Avogadro's law, Gay-Lussac law. These are the four laws for the gas laws. Just to enter the term gas laws, it will come all these things.
At rest, in between breaths, the pressure inside the
What is 760 mm of Hg?
Sir?
What is 760 mm of Hg? This term you have seen, right? 760 mm Hg.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, I've seen that, but I don't know, sir. Like in some Olympiad books and worksheets in online, sir, like they ask 760 mmHg, but I don't understand what it is.
Okay. First, how we will measure the pressure? What is the instrument name? What is the instrument name to measure the pressure?
Sir, I think barometer.
Good. What's the name?
Barometer.
Barometer. So when you use the barometer at the sea level, Hg is the mercury. The symbol for mercury is the Hg. Have seen the BP?
Yeah, yes, sir. The element. It'll be there in the periodic table also.
Yeah. Have seen the BP meters in the olden days? Thermometers, good example is thermometer. In that also we'll have the mercury. If you want to measure the temperature, then the mercury will rise along the thermometer.
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? In
Yes.
the same
Also
way,
we
the
have.
barometer also will have the mercury. So when you keep it at the surface level, sea level, it will show the reading of 760 mm. Mm means millimeters. In the case of thermometer, we'll take in the Fahrenheit, right? Like 98, 97, 99. That is
Yes.
a unit for the temperature. The unit for the pressure is the centimeter or the millimeters. So this is the 760 is the constant value. whenever you take the atmospheric pressure at the sea level, it will show the barometer reading of 760 mm of Hg. Hg is the mercury level. That is a 760 mm, or we can say 76 centimeters. Okay,
Okay.
Atmospheric pressure, right?
that is the atmospheric pressure.
Yes, sir.
Clear now? What is it? 760?
Yes, sir.
76 centimeters of Hg, that is a reading in the barometer, or the 760 mm of Hg. So Pa is the atmospheric pressure, that is the outside our body. P1 is the pressure inside the lungs.
The lungs, or intrapulmonary pressure, equals the pressure outside of the body, or atmospheric pressure. When discussing respiratory pressures, this is generally referred to as a relative pressure of 0. This is because what matters is the difference between the two pressures, not their absolute values. Thus, a negative pressure is a pressure below atmospheric, while a positive pressure is above atmospheric.
I hope you understand these two terms.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Below atmospheric pressure, above atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, yes, sir. We understood.
Below means 750, below 760. Above means above 760.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And below it's like 750.
Okay.
The lungs are covered in a double-layer membrane, which forms a thin space surrounding the lungs called the pleural cavity.
What is the name?
Sir,
Pleural cavity.
The outside layer of the lungs. There is a double layer that is called as a pleural cavity.
The pressure within the pleural cavity, or intrapleural pressure, is normally negative. This negative pressure acts like a suction to keep the lungs inflated. If this becomes 0, such as in the case of pneumothorax, when the chest wall is punctured and the pleural cavity has the same pressure as the outside air, the lung would collapse.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Pulmonary ventilation is achieved by rhythmically changing the volume of the thoracic cavity. During inspiration, the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles contract, expanding the thoracic cavity and the lungs. This increase in volume results.
What is this below red color part?
That's in the diaphragm.
Diaphragm.
Very good. The below red color part is diaphragm. So when you inhale the air, what is happening here?
The diaphragm, it like this moves down.
The diaphragm will move down and the lungs will expand, which will create some air space in the lungs, right?
Yeah, the
It's in a
diaphragm
decrease in
contraction.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, we think that all the organs below the diaphragm are fixed in a fixed position, like the pancreas, liver,
Yeah.
and all, but they are not. They are in that position because of the diaphragm only. Sometimes, in a very rare cases, while we are being born, there can be a small, complication, and there can be a hole in the diaphragm. And when that happens, our liver or pancreas, I don't know, something, it moves up between the lungs, it stays there, which causes a lot of fluid to enter there and we won't be able to breathe properly. For that, again, we have stunt is usually done near the heart, but sometimes we have to do it near the lungs also to free it.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
pressure, causing outside air to flow in. Another factor that helps to inflate the lungs is the warming of the inhaled air. This effect is most notable on a cool day when the temperature outside is significantly lower. The inhaled air increases in volume as it warms up inside the body and inflates the lungs, further facilitating inhalation. While inspiration requires muscular contraction and hence energy expenditure, expiration during quiet breathing is a passive process. As the diaphragm returns to its.
So during the inhalation, what is happening, and during the exhalation, what is happening here?
So during the inhalation, diaphragm contracts and the lungs expand. Sir, but during exhalation, sir, the diaphragm expands and the lungs contract.
Good. So due to that, pressure difference will be created so that air will move out in one case, and due to this pressure difference is low in the case of inside, so air will come in, right?
Its original position and the muscles relax, thoracic and lung volumes decrease and pressures increase, pushing air out of the lungs. Quiet expiration relies therefore on the elasticity of the lungs and ribcage, their ability to spring back to the original dimensions. Conditions that reduce pulmonary elasticity, such as emphysema, can cause difficulty exhaling.
So if the decrease in elasticity in the rib cage, it will cause a difficulty in the exhaling of the air.
Yes, sir.
Deep breathing requires more forceful contractions of the diaphragm, intercostal muscles, and involves additional muscles to produce larger changes in the thoracic volume. Deep expiration, unlike quiet expiration, is an active process. Another factor that affects ventilation is the resistance to airflow, which exists within the lung tissues and in the airways. Lung compliance refers to the ease with which the lungs expand. Healthy lungs normally have high compliance, low resistance, like a thin balloon, easy to inflate. Lung compliance is reduced when the lungs become stiff, in conditions that cause scarring of tissues or fibrosis. In this case, the lung turns into a thick balloon, harder to inflate. Diseases that narrow the airways, such as asthma, increase resistance, making it harder to breathe. The airways may also dilate or constrict in response to various factors. For example, parasympathetic stimulation and histamine typically narrow the bronchioles, increase resistance, and decrease airflow, while epinephrine, a hormone released during exercises, dilates bronchioles and thereby increases airflow.
Okay, clear that video?
Yes, sir.
Just we
Yes,
want
sir.
the mechanism of the breathing, not about the disease and all.
Sir, and breathing and respiration are not same, sir.
Respiration means what?
Sir,
What's the meaning of
Sir,
respiration?
respiration is a chemical process. That is, the food is oxidized, and sir, like
Breathing is a
respiration is a
physical
chemical process, sir, and breathing is a physical process.
Good. But for the
Sir,
respiration,
and,
oxygen is required, right? That will
yeah,
take
sir,
with the help
the
of
oxygen.
breathing only, right?
Yeah, sir, not respiration. Respiration does only the
Breaking
food
down
is
of the food.
oxidized, and the resulting will be means they will remove the carbon dioxide inside. This is called the chemical process, and breathing is a physical process of inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide.
yes, sir. And energy is not required, sir.
Sir,
Energy?
what not required? Sir, it's not required. Sir, it's required some.
It is required
No,
for the
sir.
proper
Not required.
contraction, relaxation of the muscles, right?
Sir, it's
So it will use
required,
up some.
sir.
It will use up some little amount of energy only. Without energy,
Yes,
no.
sir, that's what.
Yeah.
Sir, and the energy is not released while breathing. Respiration process, the energy will be released.
Okay, good.
Sir.
So the remaining points we'll discuss in the next class. Any doubts up to this?
No, sir.
So,
Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask me,
Yeah, yes, sir.
or else we'll do another session now and we'll discuss the remaining things in the
Sir,
next.
and respiration is a chemical process, sir.
Yeah, respiration is a chemical change only. It's a chemical process.
For
Breathing is a physical process.
that process.